start talking about it again, if the government starts talking about it again, and people see the government take an interest and take a responsibility for the environment, then people will do the same.
Fund the people who are doing the work, give us the money to do our jobs. And innovation, I don't think that there's a single problem on this planet right now that humans can't fix, including the ones that we've caused. So let's innovate. Let's replace single-use plastics with things that biodegrade so that we can continue to go through the drive-through. So I can keep using my straws. We can do this. We totally can.
I agree with Chris and both Kate. One is I think we've got to do a better job with recycling. This whole thing now saying, well, China's not going to buy it, so we can't do it. We'll get these warehouses. There's got to be, somebody that scientifically are smart enough, and I've seen things that people are doing, where you can take product and recycle it and come up with another use for it at some point. So we've got to do that. And I think people got to realize that this is our home. This is our home. This is where we live. And until we get, the guy with Virgin Air, or, Elon Musk has got these big giant ships that are going to take us up to some other planet, which I don't think is going to happen in my lifetime. We got to take care of this earth, and that means a lot of different things, but we got to get the politicians to quit politicizing the environment. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, whether you're red, blue, green, or whatever, it's all about, we got to be in this together. We're neighbors, take care of it. How do we do it? Land acquisition, and you talk about people say, oh no, we can't land back more land. Well, we got to. We've got to protect large undeveloped swaths of this land around the world for CO2, for everything else that we just need. For part of the big flooding is because we have cleared big chunks of the land. It's got nowhere for it to go, and so we just got to look at what's happened and just be more knowledgeable about everything that we do to this earth is going to have a negative ramification going forward unless we're real thoughtful about it, and then it can have a positive ramification.
Love it.
Yeah, I don't think what's happening right now is irreversible.
No.
Nature is incredibly resilient.
Yes.
And I think if we give her half a chance, she'll fix it. If we get out of her way.
We talked about that earlier.
Right?
I think that's what it is. We have to get out of her way.
Yeah, we got to get out of her way.
The donors wanted to teach him about philanthropy. He baked and sold and baked and sold and baked and sold, and ended up donating $197 to us here. And so we kind of gave him a VIP treatment. And this picture that she's about to show you is what it's all about.
Right.
It's what wonder. This is how we measure wonder.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
So he was in our flight show, and everybody had left. And this was him handing over, so the audience is gone.
Yeah.
This is him, this is the chief wonder maker. And this is him handing over the envelope full of the hard-earned money that he had collected through his blood, sweat, and tears, and his family and friends had all helped, and so this is his family and friends all standing around presenting that. And then he didn't know that anything was going to happen, and we came around the corner with the Falcon and put a glove on him, and it jumped on his arm, and that was not staged at all.
That's wonderful.
And that's what we're looking for right there. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that is the wonder that we're looking for, because that kid is
paragraph.
never going to forget that moment. And what he's going to do is he's going to go tell his friends, and he's going to say, this is what I did, and this is why I did it, and this is something you could do. And, the wonder is the part that spreads.
It is.
And that's what we want.
We spend so much time talking about how the world is declining. I mean, Earth, world,
Right.
not necessarily humans, although we could always argue on that point, but that's not my point. My point is this Earth. But whenever we do that, we talk fear-based, we talk negative possibilities, and if you don't do this horrible thing is going to happen. And maybe we need to change that whole discussion.
One of the things, so I teach a class to interns about leaving people with hope.
Yeah.
Don't want them to leave thinking there's nothing I can do. Because there's always something you can do, even if it's something small. And so that's what we do in every one of our programs is, a lot of our birds do have some sort of debilitating injury or illness that leaves them unable to go back into the wild. If that's what they left remembering, then we haven't done our job. They need to remember what that species was and why it's amazing and what they can do to help and to protect that species and to make sure that species continues on. So that's what we want to do, not the fear and the everybody's dying, there's nothing I can do, and it's so sad, and I never want to come back to that place.
That's the wonder piece too. Yeah. If you had come a couple years ago, you would have seen bios around all the birds, and it really talked about that injury. It was almost going for people's sympathy or their pity, and that just was wrong. And so one of the things we did with Measuring Wonder was very simple. We just had a series of questions, and it was as complicated as giving people a popsicle stick. And each question had basically 5 responses. And we looked at them and you put the popsicle stick in. And one of the first ones was, what was the most engaging part of your experience here? And it wasn't always the birds. It was people talking to other people. You talking to a staff member, being out here with a volunteer. And so we started doing it. And then it was the superpowers of the birds. People would pick out, oh, that poor pitiful peregrine falcon that lost its wing. Yeah, but you know that bird can go 220 miles an hour? How cool is that? So we started getting rid of the, oh, woe is us thing, and really highlighting the wonder of the superpower part. And that's, as Kate said, that's the positive thing. These birds are just so magnificent. Yeah, something may be wrong with them, but look at what they could do and they can do. It's just amazing.
And, you know, we've seen it firsthand in our programs with the follow-up questions that kids ask, you know, because it used to be, well, what's going to happen to that bird and what happened to its wing? And now it's, can they really catch a bird out of midair, punch it in the head, and, you know, they really can fly 10,000 miles in a migration, and that's what we want, because that's the wonder, that's the inspiration, that's them going back and doing research, that's them taking biology classes, that's them starting recycling programs, that's them doing creek sweeps. I mean, that's them paying it forward, and that's them using that inspiration to be a better steward of the earth. And that's
what made you change? Because you said 5 years ago.
We
That's
just
not
started-
long ago.
we-
Something happened.
we-
Something inspired you guys.
It's part of it. Just Michelle and I and some others were just trying to figure out, how do you capture one? How do you? We always knew there was wonder. We were doing too much of the sage on the stage and just
Now you're speaking my language in
regurgitating stuff.
education.
Yeah. And so we decided that really, how are we connecting? What is this? Because that new facility that you saw coming in, that would be our new building. So
That's
moving.
amazing out there. It's
And so
really
moving, we'd made
caught my
the
eye.
decision that we didn't want to just take the same thing and go down there. Now's the perfect opportunity to do things different. And what's different.
And we were actually at the forefront of that change. So I, with a colleague, wrote a paper and presented it at our international conference one year, and it was controversial, and it was because, you know, there's a lot of,
I like controversy.
I know.
I mean, this is
in a
good
good
controversy,
way,
right? Yeah,
because we are
challenging.
changing the way that the industry does things.
Right.
And we're always willing to push that envelope, because we know at the base of everything we do and the base of everything we want to change is good intentions for the birds and good intentions for the environment.
Well, we use operant training, and so Kate will tell you, if he didn't want to come out today, that bird's not going anywhere. It's all about working together as a partnership, creating a bond, so that the bird feels comfortable with the handler feels comfortable with the bird. But if they go into a mew and that bird's just not feeling it today, they're not going to force the bird to do something the bird doesn't really want to do. So it's all,
So we use
all voluntary.
positive reinforcement is a huge part of what we do.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of positive out there, and certainly part of my thinking is I'm looking at automation coming, right? And I'm looking at suicide rates, and I'm looking at, if we don't start recognizing, like you all have said, there's hope, there's positive things coming, there are experiences to go be had. We're going to see people out of jobs, we're going to see people with more depression, anxiety, and they're not going to have the energy for this. And then this will continue to, because those become consumers as well, to prove that worth. And you end up in this negative spiral, and we need to spiral upward. What I like about when you talk about the birds as ambassadors, it reminds me, I was at a global partnership meeting. We had, it changed over the time, 14 to 16 countries involved, and we were discussing education. And one time, a colleague of mine came from a different department, and she saw us sitting with all the Baltic region representatives. And she says, how in the world do you have all those representatives, like national representatives here for military, sitting at the same table together and you're all talking, and we said education is like an ambassador to the world, because everyone can come to the table and talk about education, because that was positive. And so in some ways we actually were improving relations between our nations, because we were focused on a topic area everybody could agree.
And that's how we formulate our programs, is that you make it positive, you make it fun, you make it inspirational, you talk about the superpowers, because that's all, you know, things that kids can relate to. It's all things that, you know, they can go home and think about, they can write about. You know, superheroes are a huge thing. I mean, it's all positive things. And then you know, kind of like where you cut up the broccoli really small and put it in your kids' food. We're putting little conservation messages into these fun, inspirational messages about it, you know, wrapping it up in a nice owl package.
To play devil's advocate, and I truly don't know the answer to this, but it comes up. And one of the things that we're always trying to do is help ensure that we maintain all of the different species, to ensure that we have that ecosystem represented, because of course the ripple effect and impact.
Right.
However, that said, if we look over millions of years, we also see just the natural ebb and flow, even when humans were not causing these issues. And so during those times, we certainly have lost certain species along the way, and I assume gained or adapted others. What is the difference now? Is it happening faster? Is it happening differently? Is it not perhaps the case that if we lose something like a snowy owl, although they are cute as can be, you know, again, just playing devil's advocate, what happens in that scenario, and which parts of it are natural and possibly okay, and where's the line where it's not okay?
Well, I think anything that, you know, is human impacted is not a natural, you know.
Right. Okay.
So that would be my answer, is that it's not a natural,
okay.
You know.
Whales washing up on the beach filled with plastic in their stomach is not natural.
No, of course.
And that's not okay.
But what I can't get a handle on is, if you only get 5 things, because everything can't be a priority. Doesn't mean it's not all important. It's just when there's too many priorities, there's no priorities. And so what I'm trying to figure out is, what are the priorities, and is this the biggest one?